So I wanted to take today's video and use this time to touch on a topic that's kind of been on a lot of people's minds the last couple of days or week or so. And that's the idea of how important third-party companies, third-party developers, the relationships there, and the games that those companies make would actually be important to Nintendo moving forward, especially with the reveal and then subsequent launch of the NX looming right around the corner. So in my last video where I discussed my thoughts on the recent rumors about the NX with the dev kits and the reported power of the system and the chipset, I kind of touched on this topic a little bit. This actually first came to me around a week ago when I'm sure someone you know very well, Red Knight, who runs Active Gamer Life, actually made a video discussing this very topic. It kind of kickstarted the whole conversation for a lot of people. It's a great video. He makes a lot of very interesting points. I actually don't agree with most of them, but he always presents his thoughts in like a really cohesive, understandable manner. And, you know, he always does that in a way that's best for Nintendo and shows his fanship for Nintendo. So, it's an awesome video. Active Gamer Life is an amazing channel. You more than likely know about it and are subscribed to it. And if you're not, you're crazy. I'll link the video below. Check it out. Subscribe to that channel. And so because of that video and a couple of other posts and stuff I've seen, reading people's thoughts on it, people got pretty involved in that conversation there. I kind of decided it's not so much that this is really a response to that, because it's just not. Like I said, I do agree with some of the points he made. It's more that my thoughts in this video are really just inspired by the fact that he kind of restarted that conversation around a week ago with his video. And I don't know, maybe people started making videos and discussing it even before he made his, but his was just the first one I saw. So, again, great video. Check it out below. But it's still an interesting topic, and it's one that people have been having actually for a long time. Is whether or not third-party companies and relationships need to be important for Nintendo going forward as they're stepping away from the Wii U, an amazing system that unfortunately has not been very successful, and trying to find newfound success again with the Nintendo NX, which again we know will be revealed next year. I'm going to guess around February or March is when I assume the NX will be revealed. And you know, with the NX reveal and with the system launching maybe in 2016, maybe the following year in 2017, we know that Nintendo has some probably pretty high and very lofty goals that they need to achieve with this system, and the level of success that they want to have with it, the impact they want to make in the industry with this console and with their name again. I absolutely think that they can do it, and I very much believe that the effort that they're putting into the NX right now is more than likely going to pay off. I do believe that it's going to be a great system and hopefully be fairly successful for Nintendo. It may not achieve PlayStation 4 level success, but that's okay. I'm sure that it doesn't have to still be very successful for Nintendo to feel like it's successful and for them to make more money and be even more profitable than they've barely been able to get recently. But anyway, going back to the main topic at hand and the idea of if they need third parties going forward. And again, a lot of people have thoughts to share. And a lot of people, including Red Knight, who I just mentioned, really don't think that it's very important and that Nintendo needs to focus on those third-party relationships and the third-party games. I mostly disagree. I absolutely think that now more than ever, Nintendo really needs to work to have these relationships repaired, these companies working with their machines, their hardware, and just Nintendo as a company, and to have those games available on their platforms. I think that it is incredibly important. Now, from what I could gather, the basic crux of the argument that a lot of people are having, including the video I linked below, is that Nintendo has such a strong name brand with their company as Nintendo, and of course, an amazing first-party lineup of franchises and characters and worlds and games that just destroy any other competition in terms of their quality and their recognition and people's fanship of them. Obviously, that's very true. When you look at Zelda, Mario, Metroid, you know, Star Fox, Samus, F-Zero, Fire Emblem, Pikmin, all these different things, you know, they have just the most amazing backlog of characters and games available to them. Their franchises are the most time-tested. They always review fantastically. They sell off the charts no matter what the quality or success of the current hardware. Just look at games like Mario Kart 8, Super Mario 3D World, Super Smash Brothers, Zelda The Wind Waker on the Wii U. Again, the Wii U is a system that hasn't really sold very well, but those games still sell gangbusters. It's crazy. I mean, Mario Kart 8 has like a 50% attach rate to the Wii U. It's like it has like 10.5 million sold Wii U's, and there's like 5 million copies of Mario Kart sold. That's almost unheard of. So obviously they're still doing the right things. Splatoon, a brand new franchise that just came out, did freaking gangbusters also. It's sold a couple million worldwide. That's absolutely insane. It's a brand new IP. So Nintendo has the ability to take what they do best and their games that only they can make, and they can put on only their hardware and do amazing things. So whereas some people say, okay, Nintendo doesn't really need to focus on third parties, it would be bad for them to do so, and they have the best games, so they don't need to do that, I will agree. And I will say that that's absolutely true. The one thing that can be said is that if there was any company that could survive without the need for third-party relationships, it is Nintendo. And I think it's Nintendo for a couple of reasons. One is what I just explained, is they have the best games and the best first-party franchises that people keep coming back to and keep buying in droves and will still buy their consoles for, no matter how unsuccessful that console may be. People will still buy that hardware to play Nintendo's games, without question. The other reason I think is a little bit deeper, and that's that Nintendo has somehow managed to create a business model for themselves and a profit structure that allows them to still make money and not bleed money while having hardware that isn't selling as well as it should, because their games are so strong and they develop their models and their hardware in a way that they make a profit with that hardware. And when games like Mario Kart and Smash Brothers sell through the roof, as I've discussed also recently on a video, because it's first party and they're not sharing licensing or franchise fees with a company like Ubisoft or EA or Activision or what have you, they get all that profit. All that profit stays in-house to Nintendo. And when you crunch those numbers and think of what level of, all the profit of a game like Super Mario Maker that stays just with Nintendo and isn't split between 4 or 5 other companies and the retailers and all this, and you multiply that by 3, 4, 5 million copies of that game, that's a lot of money they're making. And that's only looking at the console side of things. Obviously, we're not even going to be really touching on the massive success the 3DS is and the software for the 3DS. So between that success and how they've structured themselves to kind of survive without third parties on the home console front, that really smart business model has helped them be successful and basically sustain themselves even through a very lackluster performance of their current home console, the Wii U. That's really impressive. That's smart business model. That is just a smart business, no matter which way you slice it. Whether you like Nintendo or not, whether you think it sucks that their system isn't doing well or you're happy their system isn't doing well, doesn't really matter. Yes, the system isn't doing well, but Nintendo's still finding a way to be fairly okay. And if they take that whole business sense and they improve upon it for the Nintendo NX, let's say, and weren't focusing on third parties, they'd be doing pretty great things, and they might be able to make even more of a profit and even be more okay without the need for third parties. It's a big maybe, but it is a maybe. So I think that kind of shows what Nintendo's doing and where they stand as far as their success without third parties. But when I look at the bigger picture and I consider the other side of that argument, honestly, I still think third parties are absolutely important to Nintendo. And as I said, really more now than ever. With the GameCube, the third-party support was really kind of slipping. It was there. People kind of forget that, but it was there. But they showed that with the GameCube, they could still do okay without a lot of third-party support. With the Wii, it's weird where it's like they both had no third-party support and had a lot of third-party support because of these crazy shovelware titles that existed on that console, and those did really, really well, like Carnival games and stuff like that, and Brain Age, I think that was first-party, sorry. But anyway, there was still a lot of shovelware, and some of that stuff did really well. But they were still able to show that their games and their exclusive games on the Wii could still do really, really well. And look at how well the Wii turned out. It was insane. It was just such a phenomenon, astronomically successful. And I'm so glad that it was for Nintendo. So, but that was really the beginning of the decline of the third-party relationships for Nintendo. And obviously, with the Wii U, I don't really care what a lot of people say. When you look at the fact that it hasn't been as successful as it should have been, a huge part of it is the third-party support, man. It's the fact that you can't get games like Grand Theft Auto 5 and Destiny and now Call of Duty on that system and things of that nature. It's huge. Fallout 4, Tomb Raider, these games are not coming on the Wii U, and that sucks. That's stupid, And there's obviously a couple of reasons why. And I'm going to get into that, but when you just look at the blanket argument and the actual generalized idea of what's happening, those games aren't made available on Nintendo systems. So Nintendo made a couple of mistakes that convinced third-party companies to not want to work on their machine, and that has hindered the Wii U. It really has. Yes, it's barely profitable right now, and yes, their first-party games are selling fantastically well. The fact that it's the least powerful of the three consoles, I think, is absolutely part of the reason it hasn't been very successful. Not everyone loves the idea of the gamepad controller, which I think is actually unfortunate and kind of dumb, but that's up to them. Everyone gets to make up their own mind, and if that's what turned people off, that's what turned people off. So those are all reasons why it's not very successful, sure. But I think a huge part of it is the third-party relationships and the lack of a third-party library. I mean, it really, really is that, and it goes to show that there is a benefit to having those relationships and those games on Nintendo's platforms. So when I think about part of the reasons why third parties haven't been very strong for Nintendo the last couple years and this last generation, it's part of the thing that I think they need to fix to help the NX be the absolute most successful it really could and should be. And it's a combination of so many things. I think the big things are the business practices and the fact that Nintendo only wants to work in a very specific fashion with third-party companies to have their games brought to their system. And the other huge part of it is the tech and the power underneath the hood for the Wii U. And again, this is coming from a guy, I'm going to reiterate this point that I bring up sometimes. I am happy with the power in the Wii U. The way games like Smash Brothers and Mario Kart and Bayonetta 2 look is beyond enough for me. Okay, I don't need graphics to be better than that. That visually is totally fine for me. Pikmin 3, it's one of the best looking games I've ever seen. I've said that many times. If that's as good as graphics ever got for the rest of time, I would be happy. Gameplay and game making would still have to innovate and move forward in some ways, but visually, if that was the peak, that's fine for me. So I'm not saying that I need these better graphics, but there is no doubt that the lack of power under the hood for the Wii U has helped game developers, third-party companies, either decide not to put in the effort to bring their games over to the Wii U, or in many cases, especially like right now, a lot of these games can't be made to work on Nintendo's console. And that shows Nintendo's mistake in maybe trying to bank on not putting as much power into their machine as their competition. And it's unfortunate that that has to be the case and that it has to be seen as a barrier or a roadblock, but it is, you guys. It just simply is. It is a barrier that their system isn't powerful enough to sustain a game like Fallout 4 or Star Wars Battlefront. I mean, the fact that these games can't be coming out on the Wii U is huge. It would be so awesome if these games were coming out on the Wii U. And maybe that's part of the reason I even like or wanted to have this whole conversation, is because as much as I love Nintendo as they are, and I love the Wii U with its library that's 90% first party, I still want these third-party games on my Wii U. I would love to be playing a game like Star Wars Battlefront or Fallout 4 on my Nintendo system, the same system that I have Mario 3D World and Smash Brothers and Pikmin 3 on, and hold that awesome gamepad in my hand and play those games on my Nintendo system. I want to be able to do that, and I want to do that going forward. I wish BioShock came out on the Wii U. I want the Tomb Raider, when it finally becomes available, to come on the Wii U, and all these different things. Like, there's really great games to be excited for. And, I mean, that's why I have and enjoy my Xbox One and my PlayStation 4, so I'm not missing out on any experiences, but I would like it if they could all be together on one machine. And for Nintendo, it would be a great thing. And I think that's the other part of the reason I like having this conversation, and I want to talk about why I think third-party support is important. Because, you guys, yes, maybe Nintendo could survive or scrape by with just their first-party stuff and some stronger marketing going forward. Absolutely. And it's amazing that Nintendo really is the only company that could do that. But their success could be so much stronger and so much greater and better if they worked and had these third-party relationships repaired and these games adding to the library of their next system, of the NX. It would be huge for them. So I know that it gets, we can get excited and take our Nintendo fanship and say, I love Nintendo so much, I know that they can make it without third parties. And while that could be true, like I said, it's not necessarily best for Nintendo. What if they would be seeing more success with third parties? Maybe the fact that you have a certain level of purity you want Nintendo to maintain going forward for your sake isn't what's the smartest for Nintendo as a company. And if we love Nintendo, or if we love any company in any industry, I think that we should want them to see success. I think that we should wish for that. It's something that I've been saying going back, with my music. As being a musician and being so attached to the bands and the artists that I care about and the success that I've wanted them to see, and then conversations about, oh, a band shouldn't sell out and this and that. And I'm like, if you like a band, you should want them to be successful. You should want the guys in your favorite band to be able to quit their day jobs and just do that and just do music as their job and make money selling their albums and make money at concerts and selling their t-shirts. And it should be okay for a band to be successful. And your favorite unknown band, you shouldn't be mad if all of a sudden they release a hit and it becomes a #1 album. Like, that should be a good thing. Granted, you don't want them to start writing shitty music, and you don't want Nintendo to start borrowing from shitty business practices. And I know that's part of why this conversation happens, and I do agree with that. So you can't sacrifice what makes you who you are, but you can still play the larger game at hand within the industry that you're in, such as gaming, and work with third parties and get those companies on board and get those games released on your system and still not become part of the machine that's actually turning out bad business practices like unfortunate DLC and this, that, the other. Nintendo can fight against that stuff and say, we don't want your shitty business practices, but our machine is so successful, you want your game on our machine. And we want your game on our machine, so people feel like they can play any game on our machine. And so they're going to make that game and on the NX or whatever, and everyone's going to win because all the libraries are being shared of the third-party stuff. And then Nintendo gets to also maintain the strongest and best first-party lineup that will still differentiate themselves from the pack. I get that people want to say, oh, Nintendo can survive without Activision. Activision and Ubisoft are shitty companies and they shouldn't be working with them. And it's like, I agree, you guys. Like, I hate how those companies do things, and I hate all the DLC stuff and microtransactions happening in the world right now. But I think that Nintendo can still be Nintendo and have those games on their system. That's my wish and my hope for Nintendo, and why I think third parties are important. People, I know, they don't want third parties because they don't want Nintendo to get in bed with these companies, and they don't want Nintendo. I think that a lot of folks have said, and I've seen this, where a lot of folks have said, no, Nintendo shouldn't focus on the power, and Nintendo shouldn't work with third parties because then they won't be Nintendo, and they should just focus on the innovation instead, and this, that, and the other. And this is building off of, again, a point that I kind of made in my last video about the NX, is I don't really know why people think that Nintendo can't do both things at the same time, or any company. Why is it that, oh my gosh, if Nintendo makes a system that's really powerful, and because it's pressured by the industry to do so, and if Nintendo starts working with Rockstar and Activision and EA and gets their games on their system, they're not going to be Nintendo. And what about the innovation? They're not going to innovate anymore, and they're not going to make controllers that are unique and UIs that are interesting and focus on the quirky things that have made Nintendo so great. And it's like, you guys, for you guys who think that, slow your flip and roll. I don't know why so many people think, oh my god, Nintendo that we know would be dead if they did that. Like, absolutely not. I mean, they could make that mistake, but I don't think they would. It is entirely feasible, if not more than likely probable, that Nintendo would do both. The Nintendo that makes them Nintendo, they are so ingrained in that culture of innovation and quirky controllers and all this stuff. They will never stop doing that, I don't think. I think that they could absolutely focus on that with their next system, like the NX, which we basically know they are with the console handheld thing that they're trying to do, the Fusion thing. They're going to do that quirky, innovative stuff, and they could still work with third parties and bring those on board, and then everything is happening at once. It's like this one unified system of greatness where it's like Nintendo's innovation, unique controllers, and first-party content, also with Destiny 2 and Grand Theft Auto 6 and BioShock 3 and whatever else the case may be, all these other different things. Like, it can all coexist harmoniously on one machine within one company. And I'll end this here saying I do agree with people's worries about that stuff. I get it. Like, I don't want Nintendo to start borrowing the bad business practices from these other companies, and I don't want Nintendo to stop innovating and being the Nintendo that I love. I'm absolutely not wanting that, nor am I pushing for them to do so. But I just happen to live in a world where I believe they can do all of the above. And I think that's a great thing for Nintendo. And you guys, no matter what you think, it would be great for Nintendo. Nintendo, I think, would have the NX, I should say, the Nintendo NX, I think, would be much more successful if Nintendo can show the world that third-party companies are also bringing a lot of their games to the NX. People will get more excited, more people will buy it. If they have that combined with their first-party content coming in a regular flow like they have with the Wii U, forget about it. It will be so successful, you guys. It will be so much more successful than the Wii U, if anything. No matter what level of success it had, I think that it would show an upward trend for Nintendo coming off of the Wii U that would be very reassuring and refreshing to see. I think Nintendo deserves that. And then, I mean, I almost forgot to bring this up. There's the whole conversation of, I think another thing that could be happening if Nintendo was really working to repair third parties is the third party exclusive. I mean, bare minimum, let's say they don't get the third party multiplats on their systems anymore. I mean, that would be fine. It would suck, obviously. That's the reason I'm making this video, is I want that stuff to happen. But let's say it didn't happen. I think the other thing that Nintendo could and should and might be doing is still working to get those third-party exclusives to come over, because we've seen how successful that's been with the Wii U and with Nintendo even in the past with like the Wii and stuff and the GameCube. I mean, Resident Evil 4 for the GameCube initially was a GameCube exclusive. Eternal Darkness was an exclusive game. You know, they've done a lot of things there in the past. Again, same with the Wii, with the Nintendo Wii. And the Wii U, we know how it all worked out with Bayonetta 2, you know, and other things like that. So they've really worked to try to get third-party exclusives, and maybe that's how they keep relationships with third parties going. And honestly, there's part of me that would even almost prefer that, because it maintains that exclusive library, but also maintains third-party relationships. And there's a big win for everybody there. Nintendo knows how to make those third-party games really successful, for the most part, on their system. And, you know, gamers gravitate towards that stuff. So that's kind of my hope, you know, either they get third-party multiplats back on board, or at the bare minimum, they repair those relationships and at least get a lot of third-party exclusives, and hopefully the Nintendo NX becomes known for having a lot of third-party exclusives. The system where you get all of Nintendo's great games, but you're also going to get games that EA and Activision and BioWare and all these other Ubisoft are going to make games exclusively for that console. I mean, people will still gravitate towards that as well, I think. So I don't know. I think I'm going to wrap that up, you know, and those are ultimately my thoughts. I understand why some people think Nintendo shouldn't go towards third parties, and why maybe they shouldn't have to. It's not important for them to repair those relationships going forward. And I appreciate some of the sentimentals there, but ultimately I disagree. And I think that Nintendo should be focusing on this, whether it leads to third-party exclusives or third-party multi-platforms or all the above. I think it's important for Nintendo. And as I said on my last video, I think it's healthy. It's healthy for Nintendo, and it's healthy for the industry. The industry as a whole benefits from stuff like this, because competition becomes more heated in a way that I think would hopefully breed better brand new games. And that's something that we all want, man. We're always talking about that. I know that Nintendo is working really hard behind the scenes. I love that company. They're my favorite for a reason. I believe in what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish in whatever secret bunker that's like 1,000,000 miles underneath the Earth's crust. And they've got some guy, some freaking genius guy, pumping away at some sort of crazy, wacky idea for Nintendo, whatever their next big thing is going to be. I believe in that guy in the bunker underground. I believe in Nintendo behind the scenes. I believe in that company and the people leading that company for the most part. Granted, they are not perfect, and they have made so many mistakes. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. But no company's perfect, and that's fine with me, provided they do more good things than they do bad things. And I'm really thinking that they're going to work very hard to fix the mistakes they've made recently and make the NX what it should be. And I'm really hoping that that includes repaired third-party relationships and third-party games. I want that. You should want that. That's how I feel. Tell me how you guys feel. I know there's a lot to talk about here. People get very heated and passionate about this, and some people maybe too much so, which I can understand. But, you know, let's try to keep it calm and civilized. I do want to hear what you guys think. You know, do you agree with my points? Does it make sense why I think third-party relationships and games are and should be important for Nintendo going forward, or do you think that it's absolutely crazy, and do you think that they should just totally shun third parties for the rest of time, and that Nintendo could still be okay if they did so? So a lot to talk about. Thank you guys as always for tuning in. I always appreciate your fanship. Check out the video that I posted from Red Knight and Active Gamer Life below for a different perspective on this whole idea. And that's it. Thanks for tuning in. This is Rob of Rule of 2 Review, and I'll catch you guys next time on another video.